Well, just to move from that point, it's not directly on point, it's sort of counter, but there is one big business that seems to be succeeding and adding to the economy of Western North Carolina, and Larry Blythe, the Vice Chief, is here maybe to bring us up to date on it. I just noticed that there is news, Chief Blythe, that we're in the middle of talks about how the state and how you all might work a deal with the state in terms of expanding the operation of Harrah's, in terms of, I guess it's really opening up whether or not you can have live dealers at the gaming tables and what that might do. But rather than just my stuttering around trying to lay the background, will you tell us what's going on?
I want to thank AdvantageWest for the opportunity to be here tonight with you and hopefully give some information about Harrah's Cherokee Casino and about the Eastern Band of Cherokees and where we're at. You know, I started to chime in when we talked about immigrants a while ago, and you know, from a Native American point of view.
You say we didn't put up the wall soon enough?
You know, we may have in 1492.
Yeah.
Had we only known. And I tell you, you know, we say it jokingly, but you know, we're getting it back $1 at a time every time you pull that handle. You know what I mean? So, but it's great to be here, and it's great to tell the Cherokee story. You know, and just listening to some of the challenges that affect, of course, North Carolina and the nation, and directly over time have affected the Eastern Band of Cherokees. We were tourism-based economy. We were poor. We were, you know, high unemployment in the winter times when the tourists went away. We had a couple of small factories that unfortunately closed, and you know, as people say, when one door opens or closes, one will open. And in our case, federal law was passed somewhere in the early 1990s that allowed Indian tribes across America to negotiate with the governors of their state for compacts, which allowed certain types of games to be played on the reservations. And really, that in itself was an economic development tool. And so our tribe, after much deliberation, decided that, yes, we were going to seize on this economic opportunity. And it's been, and again, it's great to be here tonight and talk some about the stories. And we hear from the panelists on challenges and those type of things, innovation. You know, as you know, Cherokee in our region and the westernmost counties, there ain't a lot of room for innovation. You have to pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. A lot of it, as it was alluded to, tobacco, timber, those things. Our people participated in those, and they got by on those. But as the older folks died out, the political climate changed that just didn't want those. Well, I mean, you know, with tobacco particularly, that settlement, we went from probably 50 farmers to 0 in a year. That's real cash money coming into our economies over there on the reservation. The timber industry, and we all know what's happened there over time with the national forest and just other things that our people depended on, and reservation lands also. But as we started developing this casino and entered into the first compact, I think it was 1995, with Governor Hunt, we were looking to the future, and we always knew that we needed to keep growing the business. And with that growth comes employment opportunities. Today, after about a 15-year window, the Eastern Band of Cherokees through Harrah's Casino employs over 2,000 people. And to put that in perspective, about 80% of that workforce is non-tribal members, which means on the reservation or off the reservation, they have a job, they're paying state income tax, they're able to provide for their families. We've been able to get benefit packages that are second to none. And again, one door open, one closed. We had manufacturing that was going out, but we had a workforce that knew how to punch a clock, give you 8 to 5 every day, rain or shine, dedicated employees. Goes back to a lot of what we've talked about here already, identifying that workforce, training that workforce, and in this business it's hospitality. But if you've got the ethic, the work ethic that you need, the other comes pretty easy. And we know our people here in Western North Carolina. We're hospitable. We know how to greet people. We know how to get the job done. And so we've had an excellent workforce. Again, as we've seen over the past few years, the unemployment rate, and mainly in Swain and Jackson County, we believe is directly attributable to those folks that come to work for us at Harris. We've got right now that workforce, about 1,500 of those people are in Swain and Jackson County. Our unemployment rates for the counties are less than the state. You know, we're very proud of where we're at with that with the casino. And as you talked about, wanted to know what the future is. I think that's the $64 question some days. We are in negotiation with the governor to amend the compact, and that we can have live dealers at our casino. We're limited right now by skill and dexterity, which was in the original compact in '95. What that does, and I want to maybe go down two paths. The tribe made a decision about 5 years ago to expand the operation, which means more floor space, more casino space, a spa, new restaurants, new event center, over a $600 million investment that we, the tribe, stepped up, and we are going to do this. And again, we're very proud. We didn't come to the state of North Carolina, and we did not say, give us incentive money. We didn't broach that at all. What we were looking at is opportunity for our people, an opportunity for the people around us to have a good paying job with an economic opportunity that's afforded to us. We went through that, the process there is a 5-year build-out. We're in the 4th year of that build-out. What we anticipate by October of 12, that expansion should be fairly well completed. In the next 10 months now, because of the new restaurants coming in, we've got a Ruth Chris that's coming and a couple more. We will add almost 300 more jobs just by the sheer size and the expansion opportunity. The live dealers, that potential is 400 jobs, and we could probably turn those around if we were to get a signed document within 6 months. We would have those folks trained and working. So you can figure what we're doing is almost 700 jobs potentially with what's already in the pipeline plus what we're asking the governor to do. It's in her court, so to speak. Negotiations are ongoing. I know we've met with her staff. I've been down there personally twice in the last 3 weeks. Met with her staff, and we're trying to finalize a couple of key components.
Has to do with money, doesn't it, Larry?
Has to do with money.
What's the deal?
What's the deal? As proposed, we're looking at, of course, we would be granted the opportunity for full Class 3 gaming, which includes live dealers, roulette, craps. We would be looking at this point in time, the governor is saying she wants 8.5% of new gaming revenue off table games.
And how does the Eastern Band react to that?
Well, again, we're negotiating.
It sounds like the NBA.
Well, yeah, and hopefully we won't have a lockout. But I want to thank Senator Nesbitt and Apodaca. I know they've in the General Assembly, we have to craft the compact in such a way because of the live dealer issue that then it has to go to the General Assembly for their approval and statutory change.
Can I interrupt you just a minute
Sure.
and see if Senator Nesbitt and Senator Apodaca would tell us what the dynamics are in the legislature if this proposed compact comes to the legislature? Martin, would you start off?
Well, Tom and I both very much support this. It's a no-brainer. If I've mentioned to you all when I started back in the 80s with Speaker Ramsey, he represented this part of the state. And we spent more time trying to figure out what to do with that region than we did on Buncombe County or any of the others, because it was the poorest, one of the poorest regions of the state. Unemployment 15 to 25%. Larry said sometimes on the reservation it was 30 and 40%. And there was absolutely nothing we could do about it. I-26 turns north before it gets there. People weren't going there. There's just no way to fix it. These folks found a way to pull themselves up, and they have been great stewards. Everyone up here was concerned when we started gambling in western North Carolina. We tend to be fairly conservative up here in the mountains, and they have just been perfect stewards of what they've got there. Built a $130 million school for their children. They built health care facilities for their people. They're going back to the old adage of improving their people, and that's how that's what it's really all about. They're ready. They have proven that they can go to the next level, and we think they ought to be able to go. And just for one, I've been mad ever since I heard that we wanted some of the money. I just finished working through a deal. It didn't go through down on the coast. They were talking about whether or not to give somebody $45 million to come in there and put in less jobs than this. And when the Cherokees show up, they got their hands out. I've never quite understood that. We ought to let them proceed and let them take that region to another level. And I want to give you a little example of how investing in themselves has benefited the region that you don't even realize. The Cherokee and Drake Industries spent $10 million, $20 million, $10 million and put fiber optic cable, a loop all the way through all of those far western counties out there. Wouldn't have been done in my lifetime if they hadn't been in a position to be able to do it. Now we're able to hook our schools up and everybody else and get everybody online out there. And folks, if you want to see how it's done, how you can take the poorest area that there is and potentially turn it into one of our most prosperous areas, go watch the Cherokee do it. They've shown us the way.
Senator Apodaca, what about any problems in the General Assembly with this that you see, or is this a done deal, you think?
You know, I really don't foresee any. It seems that we have support on both sides of the aisle on this issue and something we can work with. I think to a person that has been out to the reservation, we are so proud of what you've accomplished there. Especially one of the things I'll never forget is the immersion school, I guess, you have to keep the Cherokee language going. And it was fascinating to watch the young children participate in that. And their school facilities are second to none. You know, of course, there are ideological differences on gambling. One thing I personally like is most people gamble there from out of state. I think that's a wonderful thing to get the folks from Atlanta and Tennessee to help with our economy. I do feel like we can pull this off. I think it needs to. I hope it's not done with Governor McCrory there. Hopefully we can get it done before then, Vice Chief, but throw a little something out. But seriously, we are ready to move forward, and hopefully we can get this done. Now, let me throw one other thing, though. Martin said that I have to disagree with. Imagine that. I do hope we get a little money from the Cherokees, and we're looking at putting it in our Escheats Fund to help with scholarships for students to college and put it back into education, which I think would be a wonderful thing. And that's one option that is out there. And so-
Martin was just saying he feels bad about taking
I know
that
he
money.
does, and I'm.
Let me say this. He won't feel that bad when the check comes, I guarantee it. But,
Well, let's talk. We've got a scholar here who tell us, Dr. Bardo, about the. We don't want to get blown away by the potential of this, but we want to celebrate what is real. What impact beyond the community does a big venture like this have in tourism for the rest of the region?
I think the really big issue, and something that people who aren't in this region don't necessarily understand, is a lot of what Larry talked about, which is this cyclical nature of tourism, where in the summer everybody's here and then in the winter they go away. And what the casino has done is to even that out a bit, so that you don't see the loss and the fall off that you saw prior to the casino being there. Because of the relatively small infrastructure in Western North Carolina for business services, the spillover of the casino isn't necessarily huge in terms of what is called a multiplier effect. It's probably running around $1.20 for every dollar invested. You get about a 20% back, which is not bad. I mean, that's not a bad number. But its real value is it gives a sense of place. It gives a sense of destination. It gives full employment to a lot of people, and it is a base on which you can build other things. It is a real, to my mind, the way it has been done, and I've looked at some of the casinos in Oklahoma and some of the other areas. The way this has been done in Cherokee is first rate, and it really is an asset to this region because of the thought that went into it. And so, I do think it gives a very strong base from which to build.
Can I just add something?
Yeah, no, I wanted. I want to talk about the high tech. Yeah, go ahead.
We, and talking about how we use this huge enterprise to create small business. The tribe itself has implemented a tribal employment rights office. Now that certifies our small businesses for things that the casino has to buy, whether that's paper products, whether that's coffee, whether that's, you name it. And so we have an opportunity for our people, and some regional people too, for that matter, but the tarot is really for tribal people, to be certified in a certain area. The casino is required to purchase from them, and it gives them a competitive advantage to start that small business. And we have a CDFI on the reservation, the Sequoia Fund, that helps to fund these people, helps them with their business plans, helps walk them through a myriad of things any small business may be afraid of. And at the end of the day, we've had some marvelous success stories on small business. Some of them may be one or two people that do a landscaping service, and it may be as many as 20 people with a drywall hanging in the construction phase that we're still going through. So those type things, we talk about a big, big business, which it is, but we also talk about the service piece that provide those other spin-off jobs that people on the reservation can then make a living, and they can take care of their families, new homes, those things that we all want to enjoy. So it gives us a little competitive advantage that we've been innovative in incorporating into it's a law. Our businesses can't get around working with our own folks. So it's really helped create that small pool of small businesses.
And DG, that's really where the strength is. It's in that creating the venture capital, creating the training, creating the support systems that allow for that development of the small business. And that really has been very important in that area.
Well, Larry, now that we got your mic back, I want to stay with you for just a minute. And
okay.
Senator Nisbet mentioned the importance or the great blessing about this circle of access to high-speed communications. And talk to us a little bit about what kind of impact that has and what kind of opportunities that have been developed for the people of the Eastern Band and then the surrounding areas. Is that really working to open economic doors for Western North Carolina?
The tribe, when we went into the venture, we were looking, of course, as diversifying ourselves. How can we do an investment that over time we believe will return it to us? So that was part of our initial thought. But of course, as you know, the region, the 7 western counties, just very isolated, very, lacking in internet service or any type of service, actually. And of course, we have property in 5 of those 7 counties, the tribe does. Cherokee, Swain, Jackson, Haywood, and Graham. So it was almost as if we were going to help our people come into the 21st century, but at the same time do an economic investment engine that would help us. And we've got children, Native children, in all the school systems in western North Carolina. So we help ourselves, but we also help the region and those schools. And I think now we have every high school that I know of, all the school systems are hooked. We have the hospital systems that are hooked into that loop. From an opportunity standpoint, we believe that if this system, from what I've read, and I'm not on that board or anything, but from what I've been told, is a model that's been used in North Carolina for going after federal grants to help other rural areas in North Carolina succeed. So it is a state-of-the-art system, absolutely top of the line, and the thing that we believe can happen with it, a data center, something of that nature that can be located, hopefully on tribal property. And again, with that comes, just the employment opportunities and that higher salaried person that would come with it.
Ask Dr. Bardo to comment on it, because I remember from the time he came on board, he was crying out for access, better access, and preaching the importance of that. How does it translate into business opportunities?
This is a huge deal. I mean, this is as big a deal as probably Western North Carolina has had. Through the stimulus money, also, MCNC has received several tranches of major money to run broadband throughout much of rural North Carolina, both west and east. And it has either recently reached an agreement or is in negotiation with the Cherokee people, with that group of Drake Enterprises and Cherokee, to link to that network. Now, what does that mean? It means fundamentally that there is nowhere in western North Carolina that cannot do high-tech related business.
So all these people who want to move here, they've got the connection,
and right. It is hugely important. And the folks at Drake Enterprises and the Cherokee people coming together and making that happen was a very important, absolutely critical step. It's up to Western UNC Asheville to make sure that we get the technologically competent people out, that we get the support systems for the businesses, and that we're able to really assist in that development, because that infrastructure is now there and certainly is in the process of being spread throughout this entire region. And I should also say Charles Taylor, when he was a congressman, did the same thing in this Asheville region to push the issue as well. So we have, on multiple fronts, this has been a very positive development.
Well, I don't want to push you too hard on this, but so what has it done for business?
Well, these are the kind of things that emerge over time, and I can tell you that if this is not going to be okay, boy, the network's here, we're going to all start tomorrow. These are organic. They take time to evolve. What do I think is happening? What do I see happening? One is we're already starting to see the development of small enterprises along the Atlanta corridor, out in that area, particularly around the Hayesville area. We're seeing some of that. We're starting to see some cross commuting back down to Atlanta by people who now, because they don't want to live in that traffic jam, are now living in western North Carolina. We're seeing the development along the I-26 corridor of small and medium-sized enterprises that are now, because of the connectivity, able to get orders and feed people like Michelin, who are now down in South Carolina. We're seeing that right along that border area. And in Asheville, You have a vibrant arts community. I was just talking to the president of Moog. If you remember the old Moog synthesizers, they're not old. They're still out there and doing a lot of really good things. But that's absolutely a very important part of who we are. And that kind of internet connection allows this to blossom and to blossom across the region. So I'm quite excited about it. It's going to take training. It's going to take finance. It's going to take technical support. It's going to take continuing education at the community college and university level. But the infrastructure is there, and it's really an important step.
Well, Walter Dalton was here earlier, last time I was here, and we were talking about his STEM initiative. Dr. Bardo, what, is there an impact on those ideas for this region?
The STEM issue is a really big issue for North Carolina, and I'm really excited about what I'm seeing happening with the Lieutenant Governor's initiative and through development of local funding and major national grants. The state is now part
Tell
of
us about
multi-state.
this. I'm sure everybody knows.
Sure.
What's the STEM initiative?
STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. And folks really in the know now are talking about STEAM instead of just STEM.
Oh, really?
And they've added art to it because they finally have figured out that creativity actually can be assisted by the arts. So it's taken a while, but they've gotten there. The STEM initiative is what is called a community-based program where they're trying to bring science, math, technology education into all areas, all communities, all counties in North Carolina. We're, I believe, one of 3 states that were selected to try to make this happen. It's early stage, but what we know is that if children aren't introduced well to science and math in very early years of their education, they come in with a deficit, and they keep that deficit all through school. And what this is allowing, I think, this state of North Carolina to do is to begin to try to address that absolutely key part of education.